Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. And it's my pleasure to moderate this meeting. And I want to welcome all our reps, and I say potential reps who are running for the board. I want to welcome you to this webinar. I'm looking forward to hearing from you and be engaged with you, and so would be the members. My name is Dr. Angela Cooper Brathwaite. I'm the immediate past president of RNAO. And today we are looking at candidates for Region 1 and 3 who will represent us on the board of directors. All other candidates, apart from the president-elect on the ticket of nominations for 2021, have been acclaimed. The structure of the webinar is as follows. Each candidate will have 5 minutes to speak. And then you would be asked questions either from the audience or for myself. I don't have too many to ask, but I may ask questions depending on the number of questions from the audience. And for each question, you have 2 minutes to answer, okay? So the order of the speakers were randomly selected prior to this webinar. The candidates with the alternative turn will answer the question following, okay? So for today, who is my favorite person? And I didn't select, it was randomly selected. Today we have Shelley was randomly selected to be the first speaker, and she would speak for 5 minutes. She would have questions posed to her, and then we would have Rachel, okay? So I want to welcome you, Shelley and Rachel. Looking forward to hearing from you. So we will start with Shelley. If you tell us about yourself, 5 minutes about yourself.
Shelley, I think you're on mute. If you could unmute yourself.
Are we on?
Perfect, yeah.
Okay.
Hi,
Yes.
hi.
And we would like to see your face, Shelley.
I know. Well, when we do that, I'll click it on.
Click the video so we could see who you are, see your face. Thank you. And you still have to unmute yourself now so you can speak.
There.
There you go.
Are we all together?
Yes, we
are.
are.
As you said about technology, I have a bit of that myself. It's interesting being picked randomly for first. You know, I always like that position, having not heard from anyone else. What I'm going to do is basically tell you in 5 minutes what I've been doing for 40 years and loved every minute. My career started as a med-surg nurse and quickly went to ICU and emergency room. And I was at Leamington Hospital for 25 years and became their educator and did a lot of policies and procedures. I've been a member of RNAO for 30 years and have used best practice guidelines in all of my policies and procedures. So basically from there, I went to hospice and was an education consultant and practiced with one of the best palliative gurus in Ontario, Dr. Charmaine Jones. I was basically a sponge to her. I learned so very, very much. But it also taught me community nursing. So I'd done active nursing, and then for 5 years, I did community nursing and dealt with these families with losing their loved ones and being with them in their living room, in their bedroom, in their kitchen. And it was so different than my acute care nursing at the hospital. And then finally, I didn't know really what was my next move, because I'm always looking for a challenge. I'm always looking for something interesting. And one of my friends was a administrator at a long-term care home here in town. And she said, you know, Shell, would you like to come and be my DOC? And I thought, long-term care, wow, I've done it all, but I haven't done long-term care. So I've spent 11 years, first as the
Shelley, I think we lost you. Can you hear us?
I don't know if she logged out and is going to come back in.
Okay. Shelley had about 2 minutes and 30 seconds left, so we can move to Rachel to do her introduction while we wait for Shelley to join us again.
Okay, Rachel, would you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Rachel Calhoun. I hope one day to look as professional as my headshot when I can get a haircut again. So I've been involved with RNAO since I was an undergraduate nursing student at McMaster University. So I've been a member of RNAO since 2005 or 6, and I graduated in 2007. And so I immediately joined my local chapter. And in 2012, I started to take on an executive role with my local in Lambton. In 2013, I wrote and submitted a resolution about youth suicide prevention that was approved at the AGM that year. And I took on the communications and membership E&O spot. I work at Blue Water Health in Sarnia. It's a best practice spotlight organization. And I also teach full-time at Lambton College. So I've been teaching for 11 years now, 10 years full-time, and I teach in the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. So I started in critical care and then I switched to education. And I've just actually accepted a position as a lecturer at the University of Windsor. So I'll be transitioning to the University of Windsor as of July 2nd. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really passionate about nursing students, and I try in every role as a teacher to inform them about RNAO and its value as a member, not only as a student, but as a future nurse. I incorporate all the BSO and BPSO documents into my teaching. I also have taken over as president of our local chapter immediately before the pandemic. So it's a great time to take over. I took over and I've been working really hard to rebuild a lot of relationships, bring on people to make collaborations. So we have someone from public health, we have someone from Blue Water Health, so we have a lot of our agencies represented. So I've been working really hard to bridge with engagement and communication locally. During Nursing Week, we focused a lot about giving back to nurses and supporting them with self-care and with some self-care strategies. Moving forward, we're going to be pushing to an education initiative, connecting with nursing students and local nurses with trauma-informed care workshops in the fall. And we have some plans to do some political action moving forward into the election. I'm so passionate about RNAO. I'm passionate about creating spaces for nursing to engage with the work that RNAO is doing as a province and even internationally. So I've been involved and active as an RNAO member for probably longer than I look old. But I've been a nurse for 15 years now, so I'm pretty passionate about what RNAO is doing and incorporating that work into nursing students, because that's a gap that I couldn't really see when I started as a nursing student. How does RNAO add value to my profession? And so I work at every level of year 1, 2, 3, and 4, and even into the graduate programs to look at connections with what RNAO can do advocacy-wise and helping nurses to see that they have a role and a place at the table. So I guess to finish, I'm working on my PhD at Western right now in the area of health equity and trauma and violence informed care. And so, yeah, that's maybe a little bit about me in a nutshell.
Thank you very much, Rachel. And I will ask the question if Shelley is back to continue, and then we will start the questions. Thank you. Shelley, are you back? If not, I would now proceed to asking Rachel questions and wait until when Shelley comes back, we would continue the discussion. So you end up being the first now, Rachel. And did we have any questions from the audience?
We did.
Okay. So before I get to questions from the audience, I would like to ask Rachel one question, and you could unmute yourself. I would like to know what would be your contribution to the board?
Yeah.
And to RNAO, basically.
Yes, thank you so much, Angela. So recently I was able to become a member of the Leadership Succession Committee with searching for the new president of RNAO. And I have been attending all of the COVID and anti-Black racism task forces. I've been really politically engaged with advocacy work online through social media. But I think my biggest value add is just someone who's very well connected to Sarnia-Lambton and Windsor, someone who has a pulse on the local community and what nursing needs, someone who has built great collaborative relationships with a lot of the employers and staff members, and someone who is extremely passionate about engaging nurses and helping them to understand the value added of belonging to this really important professional organization. So the second piece, I think, would just be education. It's my background, it's my passion, and I can really see value in educating not only like nursing students, but active nurses about how they can increase their practice by looking at best practices, encouraging them to look at the literature and helping them to, kind of make connections in the community to people who are doing similar work. So that's where I see my value added with looking at becoming a board member for RNAO.
And I see there's a question posed, it's very similar to mine. It's asked, what would you like to achieve as a board member?
I think I would just mostly like to achieve a greater collaboration with nurses in Sarnia-Lambton, Chatham, and Windsor. Sarnia-Lambton hasn't had a representative on the board of directors in a long time, so I'm really looking forward, hopefully, to be that person.
Thank you so much. Are there any other questions for her, Ifra?
No questions at this time.
Okay, and I'd like to say to the audience that you could post your questions in the chat, and Ifra would look at them, or you could use the raise hand symbol. If you use the raise hand symbol, we would unmute you and give you the opportunity to ask questions. So at this time, since there are no further questions, you could think about your questions and post them to both Rachel and Shelley. So now we'll try again to see if Shelley is back with us. Shelley?
I can hear you. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Did you hear anything of what I said?
We got 2 minutes or so of your introduction. So you have about 2 more minutes to add.
Okay, I'm not going to put on the video because I think that's when you lose me. Okay. So, gosh, I wonder how far we got. Anybody remember?
Talk about going to long-term care.
Perfect. Okay. So, as I said, that was probably one of my greatest experiences as an administrator and as a DOC. And I think I've mentioned, I did send one of my registered nurses to the Wound Care Institute for the RNAO. And believe me, it's just something that we put into all of our policies and procedures and basically ran our organization through that. I really would like to see Essex have a bit more of a word, Essex Windsor. I truly believe that we can give a lot and be a part of this wonderful organization. It's just so very important that we hear our nurses. And I think, and I don't know if you heard the part about what I saw so much in social work and racism in long-term care. And so much need and work presents itself within social work needed in that organization. And I'm sure all throughout mental health and racism through the whole province, which was highly, highly brought to us on Sunday evening in London. And that should be another trigger to us to how important it is to engage our nurses, allow them to speak, listen to what they have to say, and put them at the forefront. They are in the most demanding position now that they have ever been in their entire careers. Many of my friends, basically, we had a hotline calling each other every day. How are you doing? Where are you at? What can I help with? They were just so overwhelmed and stressed by our world. So we're coming out of it. Thank God we are coming out of it. And I truly believe we are going to come out of it stronger. And now we need to really apply what is so important. And I just keep going on about social work and mental health and helping my families and my residents and my staff through the transition, that everything happens in the province and across Ontario and Canada. So that's my bid. I so enjoyed you listening to me, whatever you might have heard. Sorry you can't see me, but that's probably okay too. But
Thank you so much, Shelley.
You're
So
very welcome.
I will ask you the question that I asked Rachel before, followed by another question, because I asked her, so Shelley, what would be your contribution to RNAO and the board of directors?
I think basically supporting the RNs in our province and supporting them with what they need. Education again. I mean, I was always back at university, always going back for more courses. It was just something that I think is so important. But helping them educate the public, you know, helping them get through to the people that need to hear from us. Nursing is such a marvelous profession, and at our fingertips, we have the ability to influence and help and guide everyone around us. So just the strength and the support and the education and I'm with you kind of feeling.
Thank you. And now I pose the next question. If you could replace that question that I asked. Okay, the next question I would ask you is, what would you like to achieve as a board member?
I think again, just being able to represent RNAO for what I have known it to be for 30 years. I have so many times when I'm talking to a staff member, got on and said, let's go through the guidelines. Let's look at them again. Let's look at where we need to go. What do we need to put in this policy? What can I do to help you? Where can we get to teach and to carry on and to make things better? All my organizations were run per the guidelines and per College of Nurses standards, and lately through conformance with accreditation. I believe that is so important that our governing bodies are strong enough to help us and support us and be there.
Thank you so much, Shelley. So
Thank you.
There was another question that came up, and I think it came from our president. Ifra, could you put that forward, please?
Yeah, sure. So the question is from Morgan, and it says, what do you see as the role of the regional rep on the board?
So I will first go to Rachel now and then go back to Shelley.
So I see the role of the regional rep as someone who is supporting the local chapters within their region. So connecting with the local presidents and chapter groups that are active in their region to support their initiatives, their advocacy work, and to make sure that they're connected to all of the policy initiatives that the board of directors is currently engaged in, to make sure that the lines of communication are open so that they're informed and able to, respond to the issues that are impacting nursing and healthcare delivery. And especially, in this current context, to be supportive and to make sure that they're emotionally and psychologically supported in the work that they're doing within their communities. I also see it as a way to brainstorm for new initiatives and to be creative about thinking for ways that we can engage nurses in our local communities. There are so many nurses who are excited about the profession and are maybe a little bit burned out right now that are looking for another outlet to express their passion for nursing. And I think that RNAO has some amazing initiatives that myself as the region could really look to coordinate and collaborate across the region to connect a lot of the work that we're doing. So many chapter presidents are kind of working in, from my perspective, I was kind of working in isolation. I would love to really create bridges to make sure that chapter groups and interest groups are working together, because the ends that we're achieving are the same across. And so it'd be great to see a lot more people linked in and connected to each other to support the work of RNAO.
Thank you so much. And now that same question will be posed to Shelley.
I really can put it, well, hopefully in a few words: listen, 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 and support, support, support. Be there, be available. Know that they've got someone that they can come to and connect with, and and that cares for them and that cares for their profession. We need these people in this profession, I think, more than we ever have. And they need to know how important they are and that we hear them. Biggest thing, hear them and get back to them.
Okay,
That's how
thank
I
you.
see it.
Thank you very much. And I think we should go to the candidates from Region 3 now. Okay, so I would like to welcome Lisa and Loretta to this afternoon webinar, and it's my pleasure to meet you and to introduce you. I will just ask you to introduce yourself, and I'm now going to see who gets to come first to talk, okay? And again, this was electronically selected. So prior to the webinar, Loretta was randomly selected to be the first speaker. So Loretta, could you please tell us about yourself? You have 5 minutes in which to do so, and then we would pose questions to you.
Hi, my name is Loretta. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time. I'm running for RNAO's Board of Directors Region 3 representative. As a nurse practitioner with a doctoral preparation, I work with a specialized population of patients. And as a part-time nursing professor, I work with nursing students to support them to connect the theory of nursing with the science, the compassion, and the advocacy and social justice issues that inherently are intertwined in caring for clients of all ages. I am a seriously strong supporter of nursing, and I believe that nurses make the biggest difference, whether they're clinic-based or administrative or academic. I believe they are the heart of the care that the patients receive, and I believe sometimes it is what patients take what the nurses are saying that give them hope. When I was asked to consider being nominated for Region 3 representative, I took some time to reflect on what that would mean to me. To me, RNAO represents so many dedicated, compassionate, expert nurses. And as their voice, RNAO moves that voice into reality by facing the challenges and overcoming barriers to engage with other stakeholders, policymakers, and global leaders. My previous experience as a member of a board of directors is when I was a board member for the nurse practitioner-led clinic. And prior to accepting the nomination, I considered the commitment that is needed to be an effective Region 3 representative. I see the role of the Region 3 representative as translating the needs of the members of Region 3 to the collective voice of the professional association, but also to bring the strength of RNAO back to the members so that we can actively discuss our options, events, and support participation. In the past, I have presented at RNAO conferences in China and in Toronto. I have taught at the RNAO Primary Care Institute. I have taken my MPP to work. I have presented Bill 71, the Lung Health Act at Queen's Park, and I have supported knowledge translation by co-authoring an integrative review with RNAO, as well as assisted in developing best practice guidelines. A little bit about me. I'm a graduate of Mohawk College and McMaster University, and then I returned to McMaster University to get my nurse practitioner. And as a nurse practitioner, I completed my master's and my PhD. My master's focused on providing care to underserviced areas, such as a mobile health clinic. And currently that's what they're doing to provide vaccinations. So that's exciting. And my PhD focused on a specialized population of patients admitted to the hospital and looking at the role of the nurse as advocate and educator for patients. When I look around, I see nurses in the hospital, in primary care, in universities and colleges, and in the community. But I also see nurse consultants, nurse lawyers, and IT specialists. The College of Nurses identifies that the client can be an individual or a community. That's how I see nursing. I see it as making a difference for an individual, but also for entire communities, not just here where I live, but where everyone lives. Issues that affect nurses range from work-related issues and feelings of lack of empowerment. When I meet with nurses and nursing students, I talk about how to get involved with RNAO. I actually say it's easy. You just let them know that you're available to help with a best practice guideline, and you join, you help, and you act. Although I believe in David Suzuki's philosophy that one person can make a difference, and this campaign is one nurse, one vote, I am strengthened by how many people collectively can make a difference. I believe that is what is needed to make sustainable progress. RNAO is a strong voice, a collective voice for nurses, nursing students, and nurse practitioners. This is your RNAO. Please consider voting for me for Region 3. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Loretta. And now I will ask you a question. So what would be your contribution to RNAO and to the board if you are elected as Region 3 rep?
So how I see it is this week driving into work, I heard on CBC radio, the person interviewing said, "Why did you go to the 10th city?" And the person being interviewed said, "To learn the issues." And I think that's what part of the role of the Region 3 candidate would do, go to Region 3 and learn the issues, but bringing also awareness of how to connect, as previous speakers have said, and how to collaborate and how to direct some of those issues. But listen to what the issues are. One of the things that I'm passionate about is nursing students and clinical placements and academic institutions finding clinical placements. But I'm also passionate about bigger and larger issues that Region 3 can be a part of. So that's what I would bring to Region 3.
Thank you so much. And I have another question, and that one did come from the audience. And Ifra, could we put that question up again, please? What would you like to achieve as a board member?
So one of the things that I have noticed over the past, oh golly, what is it, 15 months with the pandemic, is I have noticed how incredibly strong nurses are. They are so strong because when you give them a challenge, they pivot and they change. So many nurses have been redeployed and had taken on so many different roles and looking after different clinical practice areas. Also, in the academic setting, so many nursing professors have pivoted and created an online learning environment for students that equals what they used to have when it was face-to-face. They work so hard at that. And as a board member, what I would do is bring all of that together so that we can sustain some of the great progress that we've made with the information technology aspect, and bring together all of the voices of the nurses that we represent onto the board.
Thank you. And the last question, and I think that came from our current president, Morgan Hobart. Could you put that up, please, Ifra?
Yeah, so the question for Morgan Hovarth is, what do you see the role of the regional rep on the board?
So I kind of alluded to that a little bit. What I see as the role of the regional rep is to listen to the members of the professional association in that region and hear what their issues are, connect those issues through a collaborative, integrative discussion and communication with RNAO, and represent those Region 3 members so that their voice goes with me when I speak to the board of directors of RNAO. I think it's important that I take all of those members of the Professional Association of Region 3 with me collectively, so we act together as one.
Thank you so much. And now it's Lisa's turn to tell us about herself. Lisa, you have 5 minutes to tell us about yourself, and then I would ask questions of you following your.
Yes, great. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me today. And I'm honored to be nominated to be in the running for one of the candidates for Region 3. As you know, my name is Lisa Depamphilis. I am a registered nurse. I work in an outpatient psychiatry and mental health clinic here in Hamilton at St. Joe's. I also have experience working as a school nurse in primary care from toddlers up to teenagers. I've also worked as a clinical research nurse on a randomized controlled trial, helping transition patients from hospital to home. So alongside my work experience, I also am a master's prepared nurse. I completed my thesis-based master's at McMaster just this past year in 2020. I examined the concept of access and what is access to primary care for adolescents with mental illnesses who are accessing mental health services. So I have a really great understanding of the concept of access and its dimensions. Now, additionally, on top of my work and research experience, I also have been the Vice President of the Hamilton chapter for 3 years now. I started similarly as some of the other candidates have spoken about. I began my journey with the RNAO as a student member in my undergraduate degree, and then I joined the Hamilton Executive Committee as an ad hoc member, just helping with any projects that I could be involved in. And once I graduated, then I ran for the Communications Executive Network Officer, and I filled that role where I was liaising with the local members. I was involved with sharing posts on social media and getting feedback from the members at large. And then I transitioned to running for the vice president of the chapter, which I have done now for the past 3 years, as I mentioned. So some of my tasks and duties that I've done with that role have been plenty. I've definitely worn lots of different hats, from organizing our chapter meetings to planning events. We've done trauma-informed care. We've done some about hearing voices and also as about nurses wellness. So we had a nurses wellness day that we've organized. So one part of my duty is planning and organizing. Another piece is getting the feedback from our members. There's also connecting and orienting new members to our chapter. I've also supported nurses who are submitting resolutions and helped them with putting together the research and submitting their backgrounder for resolutions for the AGM. I'm sure we've all also been at the AGM as one of the voting consultation reps as well. And that's something that I've done as well, helped support the voting, as well as I have been on the floor submitting a resolution before as well. Each year we also do a nurses dinner. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic, of course, that hasn't been happening, but it is something that we look forward to every year, is hosting a Nurses Week dinner where nurses can come and celebrate all of their hard work throughout the year and really feel valued and appreciated as we host them a nice dinner at a banquet hall. Every year we also submit to the Hamilton Spectator. We do the Nurses Week insert, and we get to collaborate with the local hospitals and other healthcare organizations to put some articles together in the newspaper for supporting nurses and appreciating all the hard work that we do. So I think that, in my experience, I've been able to, advocate and listen to the needs of the local chapter in Hamilton, and really get to hear the feedback from the local members. And that's one of the reasons why I came forward with the nomination for Region 3, is that I'm interested in pursuing my experiences on a larger scale and advocating for the needs of Region 3 with the board, and hearing what the concerns are of the local context. Additionally, in my experience, as I said, that since I started with the RNAO as a student, I have found that my experience with the RNAO has been so enriching for my career and has really helped me hone where I'd like to work. And I think that the value of joining the RNAO as a student cannot be underscored enough in terms of developing your leadership skills, really getting to network with other people, and learning from other nurses who are a wealth of information. So I think that that has been my experience. So I am really passionate about sharing that with other nurses and undergraduate students who reach out to the RNAO and who we have had events with, whether that be resume writing or NCLEX preparation. So that's all the different hats that I've worn, and it's quite a bit of different things, but I am very excited to be nominated for this position, and I look forward to continuing to talk with the candidates here. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions for you. One is, Ifra, could you put that one up again? Yeah. So what would you like to achieve as a board member? And you have 2 minutes to tell us about that.
Yeah, one of the things that I would like to achieve as a board member is to really bring forth the need for nurses' well-being to be incorporated in the work that we do. Now, I know, of course, that this has come to the forefront of our mind with the pandemic and the pressures that all the other candidates have spoke about with nurses that we've faced recently, but especially because my expertise is in mental health and I do work as a psychiatric and mental health nurse. I believe that for me, that was a passion even before the pandemic begun, just understanding the fatigue and burnout that nurses can face. And I think that this is not something that is always well understood by our management and by the public in general, the things that we face as a nurse. So I think one of my contributions as a board member would be bringing forth the need for us to continue to work towards initiatives that support nurses' well-being in all different contexts where they work in.
Thank you. And there's one more question for you. And Ifra, could you tell us that question, please?
Yeah, so the question from Morgan Hogarth is, what do you see as the role of the regional rep on the board of directors?
What I see as the role of the regional rep on the board of directors is similar to, again, what the other candidates have mentioned, but I feel that what's really important for the Region 3 rep is to come to the areas that they're representing and to understand the local context, whether that be the types of workplaces that nurses work in, but also what are the local health needs of that population? Because as we know, healthcare is delivered in so many different ways across Ontario. And a policy initiative that maybe looks at something from a certain angle might be different in our local context. So I think being able to be the bridge between the board and the local members at large and understanding how we can support one another and help the chapter with their local needs, as well as what are the initiatives of RNAO at large. Additionally, as Rachel spoke to, I think it's really important that the board, the regional rep member, provides support to the local chapter in their initiatives and helping them with planning and supporting any educational events that they have, and to work to not be volunteering in silo with the RNAO and create more cohesion. I think is really important to have that sense of community amongst one another.
Thank you very much. So we've now heard from all 4 candidates, and now you have 2 minutes for as final talk, and I will reverse the order in the first from Region 1. So first we had Shelley was supposed to talk, and then Rachel, and that kind of got reversed. So I will start with Shelley first and then go to Rachel. So each have 2 minutes. So Shelley.
Okay. Sorry you can't see me. I'm enjoying looking at all of you and watching your facial expressions. I think it's so important to listen and watch people. I just feel that what I could bring to the table would be my heart and soul, which has been nursing for a very long time. I have wore so many hats and so many shoes and so many different scenarios. And I really have loved every scenario that I've been in. I learn constantly. I think we need to learn every day, and I think we need to share and support, as I keep repeating. Our nurses need to hear us, and they need to be supported. They need to know we're there. Policies and procedures are so more needed and altered and adjusted to the present life that we live today. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Shelley. And now we will ask Rachel to give for final remarks. You have a maximum of 2 minutes.
I also just wanted to echo Shelley and say how just empowering this conversation has been, and listening and learning from Loretta and Lisa and Angela and Shelley has been wonderful. So thank you all. For me, it's blending theory, practice, and research. Like, that's just who I am as a nurse. I'm someone who's always engaged in learning and always wanting to continue to be engaged in how that can translate to practice to improve health outcomes for patients and communities. So I see RNAO as like integral to that work, and to be continually advocating for nursing and for a non-for-profit system is something that has been highlighted to me through this pandemic more than ever. I have never been really one that has been brave enough to be politically active, but this pandemic has changed that for me. I have become active on social media. I have become active in calling and campaigning my local representatives to speak out for issues that I'm seeing in nursing and in healthcare service delivery in my community. I have really ramped up my work with RNAO as the chapter president. As someone who is passionate about nursing and healthcare, that won't change. So whether you decide to elect me as, your Region 1 Board of Representatives or not, something has changed in me this year where I just feel the need to continue to actively engage with nurses in my community at the provincial level to improve working conditions and patient outcomes. And so I look forward to potentially representing you or potentially continuing that work within my local community. So I thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. And now we would ask Lisa to give us her closing remarks. You have a maximum of 2 minutes.
Yes, well, thank you very much again for having me today. It's been a pleasure to speak with the other candidates and hear about their other experiences as well and what's brought us all forward to this position. I think I would just like to highlight again that I feel I've demonstrated my commitment to the RNAO in the past 5 years that I've been a member and participated on the executive committee for the Hamilton chapter. So I think that I can really bring forward the needs of local Region 3 to the board. And I'd like to underscore again that we know moving forward that nurses' well-being is something that we cannot put on the back burner. It's something that's integral to us moving forward with our work and supporting one another to continue the important work that we do. And I look forward to hearing more about all of the members at large and the inspiring work that we do and how we are able to connect and support one another. And I look forward to being able to do that as the Region 3 representative. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we would ask Loretta to bring her closing remarks.
Hi there. So in closing, I think I'd like to make a couple of points. One is, I think we have to notice the strength of nurses. And what we have to do is, as a Region 3 representatives, is continue to keep nurses strong and provide them with what they need to be able to keep that strength. The other thing that's super important to me is supporting our learners. So supporting our nursing students and strengthening the support of the nursing students, whether it be from the academic side or from the clinical practice side through preceptor programs, but strengthen that relationship between healthcare provision and nursing students. And then I guess finally, one of the big concerns would be to empower the conversation and encourage nurses to speak out about the issues that affect them in a very supportive environment, in a very safe environment, so that they can connect their ideas, they can group them together, and they can gain strength from the membership support. Thank you.
Thank you. So on behalf of RNAO members, our president, our CEO, I would like to thank all our candidates for participating in this webinar today and informing us about your hopes and dreams and what you can do for the association. I want to wish you great success in whatever you do in the future. And thank you so much for your participation. It was a joy listening to you. I felt empowered knowing that the board will be well staffed. And I'm using staff in a literal word because you are volunteers. But the candidates, you make me very proud as a nurse to see the caliber of nurses who are running for regional rep to fill the positions. So I wish you great success in whatever endeavor you do in the future. So on behalf of RNAO, a special thank you. Have a great afternoon. Please note that the voting, one member, one vote is already open, so you could go and cast your vote. Thank you so much for your participation and have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.